Alright everybody, this is Eternal Blade here and welcome to Section 2 of Concept to Creation. This will be the blocking out stage of our Hansel and Gretel sort of game fantasy kitchen. So I'm starting off with, I'm pulling this over to my second monitor or looking at a printout, whichever you can do, or even maybe you have a really good memory and don't need to do it. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that it is a freezing cold day over here in Houston. I'm currently wrapped up in a blanket with a hot cup of apple cider here. Or I should say spiced cider, not apple cider. Just had some good leftover Thanksgiving meals, so make sure you're in a similar position, comfy and ready to go. Modeling can be sort of strenuous sometimes, and it's always good to just be in your comfort zone, whether it's wrapped up in a blanket or sitting on a beach with a laptop. So with that being said, here we are in 3ds Max 2015. You can use any of the previous versions up until probably 3ds Max 9 or so you should be good to go. I kind of just changed it to the default 4 layout. First thing we want to do is go to our unit setup, go to metric, and change this to centimeters. Although I am from the US, feet with fractional inches is sometimes just difficult, so we're not going to do that. The other thing is customize user interface. In convert to, let's see where to go, editable poly. Here it is. Convert to editable poly. I have assigned this the hotkey Control Alt Q. So if you just click here, Control Alt Q, it'll say, oh, there it's assigned to this, and hit assign, and you're good to go. Make sure you save it as whatever your custom thing is, and you're good to go. This is just something I use all the time, where if you have like a box and you Control Alt Q and bam, editable poly. It's just one of my little things I like to use. So let's just hop right in here. I'm just going to start off with, well, that's the best thing to start off with is a box. So in your top here, create a box. There we go. So we're going to want it to be, I said about 6.5 feet long, so we're going to kind of make it maybe 230 centimeters. I think that's about right. And the width, which is this distance, we said about 2.5 feet, so that's going to be about 80 centimeters. I think that's about right. Alright, and again, we can adjust this to the image later on. And the height is going to be about 3 feet. So we're going to make that about 100 centimeters. Well, yeah, about 100 centimeters. Seems a bit tall. Maybe we'll increase the width to 100. Is this a square? Could be a square. It's very squarish. Actually, maybe we'll try 105. Maybe it's a bit more square than I thought. I'm just looking at the image over here and seeing how it's almost a different rectangle shape than I thought initially. A little bit wider than it is tall. 110? We'll leave it at 105. The perspective might be throwing us off. So there we go. We've got our main little island there. So next, let's put a box for the left-hand cabinets. Okay. So I'm figuring these things are probably about 6 feet high, I would imagine. So in height, we will put probably about 200 centimeters. The width, well, it's actually got varying widths. So the first one we'll put it probably, let's see here, maybe, I actually have a little ruler here so I can kind of judge distances by just staring at it. First one probably about 35 is good. Okay, and length, this will be the length of just the cabinet piece. So probably, we'll call it 6 feet, you think? Yeah, probably 200. There we go. Okay, and again, this may seem like something simple that we're doing, but really this is probably one of the most important steps of modeling, is being able to get the initial block out done. But look, we've done 2 squares. It took us 5 minutes. That doesn't make much sense. Or 2 boxes. But again, it is extremely important to do this. So we're going to copy this one over here, and we're going to double the width to about 70. Okay. Come into your top view here. There we go. Now, one other thing before we get too much further here. Let me see. View cube. I don't like the view cube, so I just turn it off there and show view cube. You can leave it on or off. You know, it's up to you. All right. So back to what we were doing. So this is going to be at about the same height as this. So this thing was 100, so we're going to make this one 100 as well. And we're going to adjust it in the end, but for now it's probably good. Now I'm thinking the end of, let's see, the end of this piece is probably about the same as the end of this. So we're going to just go up here and make it about the same. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is a a fantasy thing. No one's going to get mad at you if it's not perfect. So press Control-Alt-Q, and this will convert our thing to an editable poly, as we said. Or you can just add one on the edit poly stack if that's how you want to do it. Click your polygon here and just bring it out. Okay. There we go. And now these things are probably a bit close, so we're just going to, oops, get out of there. Bring it back just a bit. Alright, that'll work. And if you press Z by hovering over your viewports, it'll bring you to where you want to be. And Alt middle mouse button will rotate. Holding the middle mouse button will pan. And zooming in and out with the middle mouse button will, of course, zoom in and out. Pressing G will get rid of your grid or bring it back. And I'll show you the bounding boxes if we ever have them. So now we're going to work on the fireplace. It's about the same height as this, so we're going to rotate this. And now you see how it doesn't snap? If we press A, it'll give us angle snaps, and we can go ahead here and rotate this into position 90 degrees. I'm going to say this one is going to be probably at least as long, if not longer, than this piece. So this one is 230, so I want to say this one's going to be a solid 300, 9 feet long. I said the house was 10, but we may have to increase that. Probably should switch this to international or American units, but oh well. I will resist the urge. So that's probably about lined up where we want it there, and there's got to be a little space on the corners. So next what we're going to do is create just a plane, just to give us a floor. We're going to remove all the length and width segments. Yeah, if you right click on any of these segments, it'll always bring it down to their lowest number. If you right click on the spinner, just as a handy little thing to know. So we're going to call it 500 by 500. No, this needs to be probably about 450. Yeah, 400. We'll increase that just a bit, just to give us a little floor plan so we can kind of see how things are looking. Okay. Alright, now what we're going to do here is just kind of start with creating our camera, just so we can get an image. So press Control C, and that'll give you a camera right at where you were. So if you press P for perspective, you'll see that we created a camera. Push C will go back into it. So now we're going to try to set up our scene and make sure that what we have is what we actually want. So we're going to kind of leave that where it is and just try to work with these other views for a little bit. So the next thing we want to do is work on the right-hand cabinets here and the oven. And again, this is just a very, very rough block out. So there's nothing too strenuous here. Alright, and then copy that. Let's see. So in your camera here, if you actually show safe frames, this will show you an image of kind of what you're producing. Where your camera can see. And so if you look at it, let me shrink this down a bit so you can kind of see what we're getting. We're trying to match it up to this, and if you see, we kind of got our... hold on. I really hate telemarketers. But anyway, so we're trying to match this perspective up with this perspective. So you can kind of see we're close, but not quite there. It's a little bit off. So what you do is you just bring your image back over to your other screen, and we'll affect this camera here. So I think we need to go over here and maybe bring it a little closer. It's almost like we're looking in through a doorway. It could be we have to adjust the angle of the lens. If you adjust the angle, you can get different looks here. 35 millimeters is what we want. And adjust it just a bit. Okay, we'll leave it there for now, and we'll continue adjusting our scene here. So we're going to have the main counter, which I'm thinking has got to be flat. There's no way it's angled. So we're going to move it to about here, probably about the same distance as on the other side. If you think about it, it's a house, you don't want it too far away. And actually this fireplace needs to go back a little bit, because else you can't even walk in there, and it's got to have a giant pot in it. Okay, so we'll take this, just Control-Alt-Q, press 1 to go into vertice mode. We're just going to be able to adjust this sort of manually here. Okay, and I'm actually going to make this left one perspective. F3 will toggle on wireframe, and F4 will toggle on your edged faces. So, go to extrude, we'll extrude it out, push 1, and we'll sort of bring it in like that. Trying to create the little edge on the counter. I don't know what it looks like in the back, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's something similar to this. I don't know why you'd ever want a counter like that, but that's okay, because in our final scene, you shouldn't be able to see it. Yeah, maybe we could just bring it back. Yeah, that'll work. We'll bring it back there, just for now. I don't really know what it looks like, and I can't really guess. So next, we're going to leave that where it is. Take this, shift and drag, okay. And we're just going to make the length 105, so we get a nice little square here. Rotate, you can turn angle snap off for this. We're not really worried about the exact angle. And sort of rotate it into position. Now this is going to be closer to the wall, but still a little far away. Kind of over here. I think our camera needs to go up. Right about there. I'm trying to match up the perspective. Okay, and Control-Alt-Q on this. Push 1 and bring these verts out. Okay. And let's see here. Apparently the wood goes through this. Interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll push 1 and just drag it out. I mean, that's what it looks like. It does. It looks like it goes like that. So we're gonna see if that's actually what it is. All right, editable poly. Bring this forward, and we'll just increase the length and the width just a bit, so we can match up generally to there. Okay, and again, this whole thing needs to move back a little bit more, maybe a lot more. Let's see, maybe to about here. Okay. Pull that back in. You can kind of see how it works, where you keep changing things. And it's going to be a problem eventually, but we'll try to make it work. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to increase this wall height just to about there so we can see it. I can immediately see a problem in that we cannot see the other wall. We cannot see this wall in our camera over here. So we need to increase our camera angle or do something about it. And the easiest thing, well, the first thing that we actually need to do is go to our render setup, change this to 1920 by 1080, and that'll give us a completely different frame, I believe. And we're also going to assign render. I'm using V-Ray 3.0. You can use Mental Ray or the Scanline renderer for this. It shouldn't matter too much. Okay, there we go. So now we have some different safe frames. Alright, let's come in here, grab the point here, and just bring it back, perhaps up a little bit. Maybe bring our camera back some. So we need to have a little bit of view of that wall. Trying to think of the best view that we can get here. Those are cool to play with. Trying to determine between these two. This is actually fairly close. Maybe we'll stick with this one for now. This sort of lets us see what we want to see. Yeah, this is what we want. This is pretty close. From the look of it, this needs to come back a bit. Okay. This needs to come over a bit. Maybe not much. And then this piece here needs to be rotated just a bit more. To kind of stick out just a little bit. And there's got to be room behind it. It's odd though because this is not matching up. This should be a little bit, this should be right about here. This is where this should be. Which means this counter has got to be longer to go to about here and here. Which means this wall has got to move back a bit. Probably quite a ways. And again, this is why it is just critical to do this, because if you do this on the fly, you're gonna mess up. There we go. So next is just a little thing I'm gonna put in a wood basket here. I call it a wood basket loosely. Convert it to an editable poly with Control-Alt-Q, push 1, R, and just scale these down a bit. There we go. Just to block it in and make sure the shapes are good. We're going to change that to shaded just so we can get a better visual here. So that's about right. It fits good. And then this thing is actually going to extend back a bit. There's going to be another box sort of in here. Like that. And that's going to be the fireplace, the actual fireplace. Sort of off to the side a little bit, and there's going to be a big kettle in it. And that'll need to be there. And the wood box. Okay. Scale it in, bring it up, bring it out a bit. Again, these are just to get a visual of where they're going to be. They're going to kind of be over here-ish. Because the end of the fireplace, so the end of this pink thing, convert to an editable poly, should line up with about the edge of this stove there, which would make the wood box perfectly in orbit, or not in orbit, I don't know what I'm talking about. Take a sip of cider here. Oh, it's glorious. Okay, the wood box should be about centered in this other half. Okay, and let's just quickly look at this. So that looks good. Alright, now we're going to add some wooden supports here. So in all the corners, there's going to be a support. Kind of a beam shape thing. We're going to actually make these brown-ish so we can see them. And that reminds me, so file, save as, save your project. Please, please, oh please save your project. You have no idea how many issues it'll cause if you don't do that. So just go to your project folder, save it multiple areas, just do whatever it is you do, but please save your project. Separate challenges, and this is going to be scene. This will be concept to creation 01. Okay, there we go. Save your scene. So we have our one thing here, and again, so the main beam, let me actually increase this to the height of where it needs to be. So this is going to be a little bit above our fireplace, so right about here is where the roof is going to come over. And what I mean by come over is, I'm guessing, now guessing here, that the roof looks like this, and it kind of just angled structure like that to where it comes over. So we're going to go back in here, convert that to an editable poly, and just bring it up. Alright, now go into all four of your corners and copy this. Well, we're not going to copy it just yet. Go to your left view here, F3, and shift drag that piece, push R and scale it down just a bit, E, and we're going to get it at a 45-degree angle. You don't have to go exact, you can do whatever it is you want. Kind of stick it in there, push 1, and we're just going to drag these back sort of here. Okay. Go to your top view, press E, shift, and rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, so you see we're getting this kind of cross beam structure, which is similar to what is on the actual design. Admittedly, we should probably scale these down just a tad. Yeah. Don't really want to scale them down on both axes. Okay. Perspective, F3, press Z to zoom to whatever you're doing. There we go, 1, W, and we'll just extend them back. Go back to the other one here and delete, E, rotate, bam. A little spice with that. Okay. And then from here, I believe we can, believe in a thing called love. We can move over to this side. Okay, E, rotate it 90 degrees. Press W, just slide it into place. Select all these. I'm just holding control when I select multiple things like that. Bring it over, rotate 180 degrees. Press W, and voila. We have supports for our amazing creation. And then if I had to guess, we're going to press E, shift drag this 90 degrees, W, and place it right over here. So what we're doing is creating sort of a cross beam. Alright, we're going to move it over here just so we can see it. Just so we can see the top of it there. Okay, and that'll just give us a break between the actual beginnings of the roof and the top of our structure. And then we're going to want to move these main beams, shift drag them to the other side here, maybe a little more, to about here. Because in the picture, it seems like one of them, in the picture, it seems like this one is sort of over here-ish, which doesn't make much sense to me. And then it shows this one as being over here by the window. I need to shrink these down just a bit. Just string it down this axis. There you go. And that does not make much sense. This makes sense what we have so far. I guess it doesn't have to touch exactly, although I'd like it to. So one, we're going to kind of drag it over there so it's sort of in there, just so we can get the right shape. And I think, let's see, this is above the mantle, so these may need to come up just a shade. Okay, so select these ones over here and these ones, and just bring them all up to match. You know, again, it's nothing scientific. We're just sort of, oops, don't want to move that camera. Control Z that. Just trying to get it to work. Okay. Now for our ceiling height, let's just make this little box over here. So we have this box hanging from the ceiling right about here in our image. And that's pretty close to where it needs to be. Farther, maybe closer to here. Just trying to block the same portion of the image, and it blocks part of this piece right here. So that'll work. And the height looks fairly good, right above the mantelpiece, kind of on par with this piece. That's perfect. Okay. Now think about it. I think I'm thinking about this wrong, because if this piece is hanging here, there is no way in hell it is connecting to this roof, which means this roof, at least in the concept, is flat, like so. Interesting conundrum. Okay, yeah, we can do that. I don't have a problem making a flat roof. It makes life easier. So now we have a flat roof, and we know about where it'll be. We can actually drag it back a bit. That's good. Now we do need to have space for a door. You have to think about this as a living object. You know, if someone was living in this, how would they get in? How would they get out? Things like that. So a door is probably going to be about 220 in height, and then something door shaped in width. It's about 110 in length. So now we have a door. Thing is, though, our door does not fit anywhere in our current design, and I know it goes right after this thing, this little countertop. So we're going to have to extend our design to meet our criteria, because you always have to make your customer happy, and in this case we are the customer. So right about there, perfect. Bring this out, and you can see as we're doing this, our camera is getting closer and closer to being in the frame. Now what this means is we're kind of right by the door, right start inside. So I think we need to extend this just a bit more to about here. Okay. Take these, remove those. I think this is going to be the final shape, because now our camera is in position and we can tell Because if we take this edge here on the bottom and bring it up, our camera doesn't get blocked, which means we are now in the building, so to speak. We don't really care about what's back here. I mean, it's not yet. So we can remove that. And I think we can call that section... Maybe I should move the door back a little bit. Maybe bring it a little bit back, because there's probably something there. There we go. Okay. And now let's just quickly go to spline, make a line. Now we're gonna go over here to where our oven is. Right here. We're just gonna kind of spline it. Rendering, enable and render, enable and viewport. We're gonna make a radial spline. And there we go. Now this is just, again, something that we can look at for size and kind of get in the right shape. So we're going to make this an editable spline, edit spline. Go to your vertex sub-object mode. And this is going to, let's see, kind of snake out over here. Behind this piece. And so you can see all of our splines are kind of in the wrong position. Oops, don't move your camera. Whatever you do not move your camera. And let's actually do a trick here. So click on the floor, press Alt-X. That'll make it transparent so you can kind of see and work through it. Alright, so this is, yeah, kind of goes in there. This one sort of comes out. And over here, down a little bit. Again, this is just very rough. We're just sort of playing around more than anything. Bring it over there. Alright, we're gonna delete this roof polygon just because it's causing us grief. And we'll bring it back if it's a nice polygon. But far from that. Far from that. So you can actually change this to just a corner. Oops. Corner, there we go. So it's nice and hard, just kind of like in the image. So what happens is this thing sort of comes directly up from on top of it. That's about right. And this kind of comes and shoots off like so. And this piece comes almost directly on top of it. And there you go. And then I'm sure it goes into the wall as such. And it goes out the side or up the roof. We can make that decision at a later date, but that's about what it looks like. And actually probably kind of comes off and does a few other crazy things. I think this part actually exits over here and up a little bit more. So it exits above the support over here. Okay, and again, we can add more resolution to this, but for now we're just sort of playing. After all, it is a polycount challenge. I definitely suggest, if you have not heard of Polycount, to go check out their website. It is a great learning resource. There is a ton of information on there. You know, everyone posts their work. You can get comments and critiques on your own. Just overall a great resource to have in your toolbox. Okay, this kind of comes over here, sort of squishes a little bit. And let's make this one a corner as well. Okay, so go to edit spline, and we will, let's see, what do we want to do vertex insert, and to kind of insert a vertex, you know, somewhere not preferably out in the middle of nowhere, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. All right, so now we have another vertex here, and we can bring it back. And we probably need one more vertex. Insert right there. One, and move it into position. Move it away from the unknown. There we go. I like it. Another sip of tea. Actually, not tea. Spice cider. Keep forgetting. It's so delicious. It sometimes addles your brain. Now for this, we need to build some stuff. So let's go to box, auto grid. We're just going to build a little box on top of the box, like so. Okay, and this is going to be the little offshoot. Control Alt Q, make it an editable poly. I feel like this still needs to be a little wider. So, because I feel that way, I have the power. I'm going to do it. Press R and widen it just a bit. Widen it and move it to the left, just a shade. Okay, there we go. I'll get some boxes for legs. You want to sink them right there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. No one is judging you except for yourself. And again, you can be the hardest critic, which does kind of suck sometimes. So that looks fairly good. Bring it back. Bring it in just a bit. Okay, there we go. Make a little cylinder. Start over here. Control Alt Q, press 3, 4, R, and scale it out. We're just making another small wood bucket, or just a pail of some sort. Bring it down just a bit, and maybe actually scale it down. There you go. And just because we're so cool, we're gonna make our pail a little more pail-like. There we go. Now we got a pail. Okay, and again, let's save. Got that, got that. Let's work on this piece. You kind of see we're getting a whole scene kind of coming together here. This piece, push 1, and we're gonna just convert the entire box into a countertop, like so. Okay, take this one, press 1. Oops, that's not an editable poly. Convert it to an editable poly, and bring that up as well. Okay, we're just going to take this leg. Since these legs are, well, they should be the same. And move it over here. Okay. And looks like there's another one. Move it over here. Okay. And make a box that goes from here to here and up, just so it intersects the countertop. And that'll be our main little box thing. And now from here I can see that we are clearly too far over and don't have nearly enough counter space. So I'm gonna move this and bring it in until it matches the edge right here. This is the edge we want to be matching. A little bit more. Okay, take the top piece, one, and do the same thing until it matches. There we go. And this is the height of the mantle. Very odd looking. It doesn't quite seem right, but maybe it is. We're gonna carry on assuming it is. Alright, just sort of make some shelves that go sort of here. And then W, shift drag up. Okay. And bring them in a little bit. Just to give them a bit of unevenness, which is what I'm seeing. Alright, now I want to place one of the walls here. So select this plane, edge, select this edge here. And let's just drag that edge up to meet the others. The others. There we go. Close enough. And we can see some space up there. That's cool. Don't think we have to worry about it. We could go a little higher if we wanted. There we go. Bring that one up as well. Okay. So now we got a little better view here. So this goes to the edge of about the edge of that. So yeah, this piece is butted up against the edge of this. So I think that's pretty close. So let's go to our box here, and this is going to be a box. And said box is going to be level with the countertop. So we're just making sure this is level right here. And we're going to scale it in quite a bit. This is just going to be a little window sort of thing. Control-Alt-Q. And just like that. Top piece, connect. Just give it 4. Push 1. You can go to the front left view. Bring it up. And bring it up. That'll just give us the shape we want. And we can match up the size with our piece. So it's got to obviously come down a bit. Probably right about, for the actual window, it needs to be a little smaller, so right about here. Okay, that'll work. That's our window. And let's see, what else do we have now? That's matched, that's matched. Just looking, kind of seeing what we can see. So there is a support that comes out of this one. And shift drag. So it seems like it just goes straight up into the ceiling. Kind of at this angle. There we go. Now it's on the ceiling. Kind of see what we just did there. And you'd think that the ones on the other side would do that too. But maybe they don't. Anyway, that one's supporting the ceiling. So I can't really see. See over here, we've got this one supporting the ceiling. And the next one is over here. It looks like it just kind of goes, I don't know where it goes. It just disappears. I see wood. It must connect there somehow. Because it doesn't go anywhere. It's the strangest thing. It should go right up here.
And that is mind-bogglingly complex as to why it is doing that.
But alas, we will succeed. So I'm gonna, let's try placing it over here. Sometimes you just gotta try it and see what happens. So, well, closer. I think I know what's happening is this support on this side is actually right above the camera, right there. If I had to guess, because this support, if you look at the image, it is supposed to be right up here, right on the edge of what we can see. And if we match that up on the other side, go to here, okay, we'll delete this one. Bring it over, E for a rotate. And that must be it, that's it. So you can you can't see it anymore. So that's where it is. So the support is just above the camera over there. Okay, let's take one of these shelves over here, shift drag it to the other side, sort of somewhat in front of the wall. And, well, that's unique. Alright, well, anyway. And it goes sort of butted up against here, just some teapots or something on it. And it's going to be a bit wider than that. Bring it out past the post and extend it to about the edge of the counter over here. Not over the oven though, just the counter. Okay, and I still am not a big fan of our counter being weird like that. I think who would make a counter like that? It's gotta be like that. So strange. Okay, so we have that, and that's one of our support pieces. Next we need to have another one of these puppies, which seems a bit low. I think these all need to go up. Just like the other ones, we rose them. These need to rise. Rise, rise. Okay, there we go. Now move this in the left viewport over to here. There we go. And interestingly, it looks like this one is a bit longer. It kind of does one of these numbers. There we go. We'll just place it there for now. Let's see, what does that look like? Some kind of long support. There's probably one on the other side too, but again, I don't think it matters so much. Just because we're not going to see it at all. We can place it in there for now though. Okay. Just give this a brown color. This a gray color. Give this a black color. This one is going to be brown. I'm just sort of getting the colors sort of the way I want them. Sort of a white cream color. Brown or gray. Brown. Brown, 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 brown. Brown, brown, brown. Brown, brown, brown. And boom. And this will be sort of nice moonlight colored outside. And wouldn't you know it, this one's going to be brown. And this will be sort of reddish color. And this, that's probably fine. So there we go. That looks pretty damn good for a block out. It's got all the elements we need. Except I'm still thinking. Let's shrink this just a bit, bring it a bit back, because there's got to be a small gap between the legs and this. There we go. That's better. And let's go over here. Take this box. Control-Alt-Q. We're going to inset it just a bit. Push 2, edge selection, bring this edge down. Okay, come over here and extrude inward, even though I can't really see it. And let's click on this box here. Connect it with 2 connections. Okay, push 1. Select them all, move them to match with the fireplace in general. Okay, and select all these lines, connect with a 1 line up there, and click, bam. Now we've got more of a space for our fireplace, still not all the way there though, because we have this stupid wall in the way. But that'll give us a general understanding of it. Make a sphere. This will sort of be our cooking pot, which fills up most of the fire. Press W, and we'll move it sort of into position. So just so we can see the top of it kind of flickering over there. Give it a sort of red view. There we go. This firebox, that should be fine. Alright. I'm gonna say, do I want to say this? That we're done with the blocking out section. And we've got all of the elements from what I can see of what we need generally laid out in the right area. Again, press Control S to save. Dear God, don't forget that. So that looks pretty damn good. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, make a copy of this. Okay. And make sure it's kind of in the wall. Compound objects, Pro Boolean, start picking, and pick one of those. Delete. Did that work? Maybe that didn't work. I really just want to cut a hole in the wall and try to get our lighting. No, we'll do that next part. This is a block out part. Okay, so that's going to be it for section 2 of Concept to Creation. This is the block out for Hansel and Gretel's kitchen. I will see you in part 3, where we will continue to refine this and overall get a more presentable piece. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.